Brain Spring. Today is Wednesday, August 9th, 2017, and I'm Fran Duval, your host for today, and we have an odd combination of women today. We have Showgirls and softball. Interesting. Not together, though. First, we're going to talk to the Showgirls, and we have with us today Fern Jennings, and Shirley Shiflett. Hello, ladies, and you'll be looking this way, not at the set. Okay. So, I innocently, when you came on, I hadn't seen your outline of your talk, and I innocently said, "What if some show boys want to, you know?" And lo and behold, that's their first order of business. Talk to us.
Actually, a lot of the men in the area are some of our heaviest contributors. So we think that they ought to be participating in name as well as in action.
Sure.
So we want to change the name from Showgirls to something, but we haven't come up with any good ideas. So if anyone out in the audience has a good name, we're happy to have it.
Okay, are there any parameters, like it has to be short, or it can't be vulgar, or anything like that?
It has to be suitable.
Suitable, okay.
Printable.
All right, printable.
Without expecting a lawsuit or anything.
No.
Well, in spite of the fact that it's been mostly women, I'm interested about which kind of things that men contribute.
Surprisingly enough, they contribute to all of them. And sometimes I've even known some of them to go into a store and see something was suitable, and they'll buy it so that they can be the contributor.
Oh, how nice, yeah.
And sometimes they'll come up with a lot more than the women do.
Well, of course, even though women were in our various military things, I would think mostly any military memorabilia would be coming from men.
It's things that they've picked up on trips, sometimes for their families, sometimes for their wife, sometimes just something they liked. So they bring it in, and sometimes they'll stick around and tell us the story of it, and I enjoy the stories that they tell.
Yeah.
Because some of them are really interesting about how they managed to get the things to start with. And I hear about all kinds of trips. I hear about the family. I hear about how much it's worth to them.
Yeah, it's like a little history thing going on for their personal history, isn't it? Oh, that's great. So you should be recording those for them.
Yes, actually, it would be a good thing to put in the stories of the memories.
Yeah.
Because they are really interesting stories.
Yeah.
The dolls, for instance, there was one doll that belonged to a great grandma, and another one that had been made by the mother of the person who was contributing, and all different kinds. And it wasn't necessarily the most expensive thing. It was just that it was valuable to them and interesting for us to look at. So,
right, right. Speaking of the dolls, as I came by Village Square, I stopped, since I knew you all were going to be on the show, and I looked at, most of the dolls, I've seen this place and that place. I mean, replicas of them, if not the real thing. But I never seen the fairy tale ones, like the Three Bears and the Goldilocks. I had, and they're just little pieces there in that showcase. And then next to it, I think, is Alice in Wonderland with the rabbit. I just had never seen those dolls, and having made some dolls myself and made some little dolls, I know how much work and dexterity goes into making those little felt dolls or whatever they are, yeah. So, Shirley.
Yeah, there were several sets of those dolls, incidentally, and they belonged to a teacher, and she used them, in
how
her,
nice
in
when
her
she
classroom.
taught. Oh,
right.
how nice.
And so they put them all over. I thought they looked quite
Now,
interesting.
see what a nice story that is to hear about those particular dolls. Yeah.
Well, another advantage of having the guys with us would be that sometimes we need to move shelves or
Sure.
do things. And I know I catch Joe walking down the hall and got him into, I had gotten a tension bar, but I thought it was a simple tension bar that you just kind of released it
Sure.
like this and it worked, but it wasn't. It was some other contraption and I couldn't figure it out. Well, he came in there and he worked on it and figured it out. And also the guys might have a lot more suggestions on things we could do. I
Yeah.
know when we've had metal things or we've had tools or things to do with sports or military things, the guys have been extra heavy contributors on those. And I think if they were working with us on a monthly basis, they might say, hey, why don't you do this? And I think it would be nice to broaden our input.
Yeah, new eyes on
Yes.
it. Now, tell me the makeup of the Showgirls. At this time, we'll call them Showgirls. And I just said girls, guys, and dolls. But anyway, how many people, like, are you, both of you connected with this one here in Village Square, or you have officers? What is the makeup of that group?
There are 2 chairmen in each group, or in our case 3, and there's another one that's 3 chairmen. But the 3 different villages are self-contained. In other words, we do the same theme,
Yeah.
but we each do it in our own way, and we have contributors only from
From your neighborhood.
area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that
yeah.
it's interesting to see what comes in the different areas. And so after we're finished, we take a tour
Sure.
around to see what other people are doing. It's not a competition.
Uh-huh.
It's just to see what's interesting in the other areas. So.
And it's amazing what people have saved, what has made the cut, you know? Because I think of some of the things that I brought, but I can remember moving in and trying to find a place for everything, and I had collected little pictures, and I had one from the Amalfi Coast. It was like, I never used them, but seldom used them. But anyway, I broke it and it shattered. And instead of weeping, I said, good. Now I don't have to find a place for it. But you know that the things that end up in the showcases are precious to the person who contributed them. Maybe for family reasons, or maybe just the experience that it comes to mind when they see it. But everybody should know that their things are always locked up. And are never left unattended. And once in a while over the years, we've had people who will just drop something off and put it outside on the counter, and we always call them and say, please, please, don't ever, ever leave your thing without it being checked in.
You'd rather go to their apartment and get it yourself rather than them leaving it.
And we have them sign in, and they should put a description, the person who signs it in. One time we were doing bears, and we had all kinds of bears, and when I was working with it later and returning things to people, brown bear. I thought, do they realize how many brown bears we have? I mean, it needed to say 5-inch brown bear with green bow tie.
They need to have a number put on them or something.
Yeah, and we
catalog number.
We strongly encourage people to put their address labels on them.
Okay.
On the bottom. And sometimes if it won't stick, you can put a straight pin through it, you know, and it might stick a little easier. Another thing that's important is for people to try very hard to pick their things up on the day that is the pickup time. And the way Showgirls is organized, you have people who decorate windows, and then you have people who sign in. And the sign-in times are always Friday from 12 to 1, and Friday from 4 to 5, and then the following Saturday from 12 to 1, and then the decorators would start about 1 o'clock and work on those
So it would be a
things.
team of maybe 4 people or 5 people.
It depends on
in
the
any
neighborhood.
given neighborhood, and maybe the subject matter. Now, how often the themes are changed every month, I believe. Am I correct?
Not quite that often, about every 6 weeks.
About every 6 weeks. Okay.
But 2 themes that we always do are related to benevolent care. And you want to talk about that?
Oh, we work with Kimberly Nelson
Sure.
in the philanthropy on both the gala time and also on the scholarship.
Scholars. Mhm.
So that it gives her an outlet that everybody can see.
Sure.
If they don't listen to what they get or read what they get in
Sure.
their boxes, at least they have something in front of them. And it's good for her and it's good for us
Sure.
to
So 2 of your displays every year, you know what they're going to be.
But the list is always made up a year in advance so that we know and anyone who wants to know can follow the list. In fact, I have a copy of it right here of
So what's your next one after the dolls?
is the gala.
Oh, of course, it's September, yes.
Yeah. After the gala, we have Germany and Oktoberfest. Then we have American Indians and Pilgrims. Then Snowmen. And in January, it's Vases and Flowers.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, we have it made up.
So have we covered your agenda here? It looks like we have.
Most of it, I think.
And are you asking, what if somebody has an idea of a display? Can they bring it and
Call me.
call you up?
Or
And-
I'm sorry. At the village fair, we always have a sheet that says ideas for future displays. you
Okay,
know.
okay.
And sometimes we get some feedback on that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's always a pleasure to look at the windows in the different neighborhoods. And you're right, seeing how different some of the neighborhoods are on the same theme. It's just interesting. And listen, we need to quit now, and I thank you very much for coming. But listen, Fern Jennings and Shirley Shiflett, if you have some ideas about this.
And especially for a name change, guys.
Yeah, they're
Think
looking
it's something
to change
catchy.
the names from Showgirls to something else that includes all genders. Thank you very much.
All
Stay
genders.
tuned.